We all set?
I'm ready. You're recording and I'm recording, so I think we're good.
All right. Um, all right. So for the first one, um, I was thinking about splitting notes. So our PowerPoint today for lecture was 200 slides, 200 slides long. So I was looking to like split the duties with someone to outline it. And it beeped when I was thinking about this, and it beeped when I was saying, I'll do the first half of this lecture if you do the second. And I slightly saw my friend that I was thinking about sending this to. Nothing like prominent that I could like pick out, but I just knew that it was her. And I was looking at the text box in Zoom when this all happened. Like I was gonna message her.
So is the sentence, I'll do the first half of this lecture if you do the second, is that innerly spoken or are you speaking out loud to her?
That's innerly spoken.
Okay. And you see her, I'm understanding, but only sort of dimly or vaguely or something like that?
Yeah, it's almost not even, I was almost gonna not even tell you I saw it because like it was so, I knew it was a visual, but like there was nothing that I could pick out. I just knew it was her.
And so how is this different then or more so or less so or whatever than the white coat video, white coat?
Similar to the white coat, except that visual was much more discernible. Like I could tell that it was a white coat. It
So
probably, oh, go ahead.
on a continuum of clarity from I don't see it all to I see totally clearly, the white coat is over here somewhere and the
Yeah.
current video is over here somewhere. Is that the deal?
Yeah, and the parking lot is on the higher end of that spectrum.
Right. Right. Okay. So let me make sure I understand. So I'm gathering that I see her. There's no question about it that I in my imagination see her, but the differentiation of it or the details of it is very, very unarticulated, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I think it just beeped maybe when it just started to happen. So like I wasn't thinking about this for a long time. So it probably like snapped me out of it when the beep went off.
Okay. And I acknowledge that that's quite possible, but that is a theory that I would like us to bracket, of course. And I also think that it's quite possible that you just don't. There are times when you have an image that is not articulated, and it just stays not articulated. And when you're done with it, you're done with it because you know who you're talking about. There's no real reason that you need to see her. So as long as you see a bit of her, then that maybe is good enough.
Yeah, let's bracket that because it happens again. I think on beep 3, a similar situation happens.
All right. Then about the speaking, I'll do the first half. That's an entire sentence. You experience yourself as saying this whole deal.
I'm saying it, yeah, almost like I'm saying it to her. It wasn't like I was thinking about typing it. It was just like I was daydreaming about asking her.
And so your experiences of saying this to her, and you say it, I'm gathering quite differentiatedly. You've got all the words and inflection and all that stuff, and
yeah.
And you see her, but without differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
And do those two things seem like, maybe this might be an impossible question, but seem like part of the same experience? It's like I'm saying this to her.
Yes.
I just happen to see her less clearly than I am speaking to her.
Yeah, it's definitely that. That's why it's like it was hard to explain that. Like I couldn't technically visually see her, but I knew I was talking to her.
Now that sounds slightly different from the way I understood it from before. So Are you technically not seeing her and yet I know I'm seeing her, or am I seeing her but the details are not differentiated?
I don't see her at all, if that's what you're asking, but like I know it is her. But there was like a slight visual, but like I had no idea what it was. But for some reason that visual, I knew that it was supposed to be representing her. and then I was talking to that.
So it is that I see her, but it's a very, very undifferentiated.
Yeah.
It's not just that I know I'm talking to her with no visualization at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to put words into your mouth. I'm just trying to understand what.
Yeah. No, you're correct.
Okay.
So this is a visual experience. It's just that I don't see really anything clearly.
Yeah, I would say that it's more verbal than it is visual. But they seem to be connected.
As in the verbal part is more prominent, more important or whatever in my experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
60-40-ish, 90-10-ish?
I would say 80-20.
Okay. And is that 80-20 prominence somehow different from just the clarity of it? The words are certainly clearer. So is this 80-20 measuring the clarity, or is it somehow measuring the prominence of it separate from the clarity?
Is it possible that it wasn't clear because it wasn't prominent?
Anything is possible.
That's what it seemed like to me, if I would describe it.
Okay. All right. Then I think I'm good.
Was there also, Ryan, something in your experience about the Zoom text box, or was that just context background?
It wasn't like part of the experience when the beep went off, but I looked at the text box and then I thought that, and then the beep went off. So.
And is the text box still present to you in any way? Like, are you seeing it? Or I saw it and now I'm into my daydream about asking the girl and I'm not really into the text box anymore?
I don't remember.
Okay. Regardless, it's not prominent. Your eyes are aimed at it, but maybe I'm seeing it, maybe not, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm good.
Me too. Number two.
Number two,
the beep went off like 30 seconds after the first one. And it beeped when I was like scrambling to find the tab on my computer to type in what happened in the first beep. So I don't really remember much that was happening. I don't think much was going on other than the fact that I was like switching screens. Do you have a Mac by any chance? You could like slide to the next screen. I had it like on another, I don't know how to explain it if you don't have a Mac, but there's like two screens and you could slide over to another one. And I was in the middle of doing that when it beeped.
And so sometimes when people get beeped so shortly after, it seems sort of impossible for them to grasp their experience. Is that happening for you here?
Yeah, I didn't have like a strong sense of what was happening when the beep went off.
Yeah, I'd say we ought to skip it and go on to beep.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is not a fault of yours. If anybody, it's a fault of mine. I could have programmed those beepers to have a longer inner, and I just have never gotten around to doing it. But
I mean, it very well could have been nothing was going on, and I was just like doing things. But I honestly have no idea. It happened so fast.
Yeah.
Right. No worries. Let's look at number three then.
Number three is almost identical to beep one, where I was thinking about splitting notes again, except this was a different friend that I was creating a scenario as like if the first person like fell through, like plans to split the notes. And it beeped when I was saying, would you still be interested in splitting notes? Because we'd had talked about it the day before. So it was like a backup plan. And I was staring at the PowerPoint of a picture, but the picture wasn't really in the footprints of my consciousness, as you say, if at all. And there's no visual of him like it was in the first one. This was just strictly words.
Okay. So again, here I'm imaginarily talking to my friend, but in this one I don't see my friend, like I did in beep one.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was more of like knowing matter of fact that I was thinking about that.
Okay. And the words here are, would you still be interested in splitting notes? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Full sentence.
And innerly spoken, I'm understanding.
Mm-hmm.
With inflection, normal voice.
Normal voice. Same one as the last one, as the first beep.
And in the first beep, we said that it was, your experience was of talking to the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Here is your experience of talking to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both very directed. This is like an imaginary, as if I'm talking to him now.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything different about how the words are experienced between this and the first? I mean, different words, surely, but...
No.
Okay. And here, is your friend present to you at all, aside from the fact that the words are for him?
He wasn't, not like present as in there, but I knew who my words were directed to.
But I don't see him. I'm not thinking his name or something.
No, but it is something that I texted him eventually. Like I texted those exact words to him.
And then you said you're staring at a picture on the PowerPoint?
Yeah, so like I was paying attention to lecture, trying to pay attention to lecture. And there's a picture on one of the slides, and I was looking at that, and then I drifted off, thought that, and then it beeped. So it wasn't really in my experience directly.
Okay, so I am in fact staring at it, but it's not really reaching my experience. Okay. Then I think I'm good. So really it sounds like the bulk, or maybe I guess like the entirety of my experience at this moment is innerly saying to my friend, would you still be interested in splitting notes?
Yeah, it was like daydreamy kind of, where like I wasn't present in the moment that I should have been present in.
So I do have one or a couple of questions. So this experience I'm gathering is different from the first beep. Well, you tell me, how is this experience different from the first beep?
It's very, very similar, except the other one may or may not had a visual attached to it. But I was still like speaking directly, and it was an idea that popped into my head. It was something that I had to do. Like I was going to talk to them anyways about this, so it's just like a reminder to do it. That's like how it popped into my head. Like I don't know.
So we're back down to the may or may not deal here. So
I have a problem with that. Sorry.
So it seems like we started out with the may, and then we got to the may, and then we started out with the yes, and then we got to the no, and then we came back to the mostly yes when we were talking about the first beat. Are we changing our minds about that?
About if they're similar?
Whether the first beep involved a seeing experience.
It did involve a seeing experience, but like it was so loosely there that like it's hard for me to describe it. Like I know for a fact it was there, but it wasn't super present.
And that kind of experience was not there in the present beep.
No, but it very may well could have been.
As a logical thing, but not as an experiential thing?
Not as an experiment. Right. Yes.
So I guess I'm asking this line of questions, at least in part, because I want to double back to your important question from last time, which was like, well, what is experience?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is, well, seeing your friend in the one situation is experience. And the reason that you know it's experience is because in this beep, which is otherwise apparently pretty much identical, it didn't involve that. And so the question of what is experience is of something which I think is directly apprehendable by Ryan. Even when the experience is not a very well differentiated one, and yet when he's careful about it, I think he's saying there was a visual experience here.
Yeah. So what's the question? Is there a question?
This isn't a question. This is a commentary.
Okay.
The commentary is you wanted to know what is experience, and this is an instance of it.
Okay. And I think that the first, like I said, the first one, I say that there's a visual. There was something there. It's just it was not prominent. It was more vocal, just like this one, except there's no picture. So I guess in comparison, they're both super vocal. Like
I'm totally accepting that, but the part that I want to call attention to is when you say with what seems like apparent confidence, well, there was something there. That is your experience talking to you, saying, you can't just say, well, it wasn't there, because it was there. It was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm ready to move on to number 4. I don't want to make too big a deal about that, except that in the business that we are in, there are a lot of people who wonder, what is it? Is this stuff called experience really a thing? And the answer is, I think it is. And the reason that I think it is for this kind of deal. Even when experience is a vague or undifferentiated thing, yet there's still something there that you can't just say, well, it wasn't nothing, it was something.
Yeah, there's always something, more additional things that could be like added to my thought process. I feel like there's a lot of different ways that things present themselves.
With that, I think that's true as a generality, but not as a specificity. Mm-hmm. For example, I think about beat number 1. I could ask, well, were you hearing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in your imagination? And I'm guessing you would say, well, heck no. It didn't have anything to do with this experience. I didn't experience that.
Do you experience that?
Sometimes.
What do you experience, Dr. Hurlberg?
I'm sorry?
What do you experience?
Well, most of the time I'm just thinking about other people's experience. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that you have what I think is a pretty stubborn, and I mean that in a positive way, what presents itself as experience is not just anything. It is this specific thing and not that other specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in my business, is a big deal. And I think also in your life it's a big deal. But that's a different story. For you to know what is in your experience and what is not in your experience, I'm guessing is a important thing for you.
I mean, I'm just trying to do the best possible job I can to explain everything for your guys' sake.
I'm with you. Let's go on to number 4.
All right. So the lecture is 3 hours long, so halfway through we get like a 10-minute break. And everyone like shuts off their camera on their you know what I'm saying. So when they go away, they shut their camera off. And the beeper went off when we were about to go on break, but someone asked a question, and he was answering a question that kind of seemed important for the test. And I expanded the window to see how many people left and were not here for that. And I expanded the window, and I was looking at the boxes, and they turned gray if you shut it off. And I was just looking at that. I wasn't really thinking about anything verbal. I was just curious about who was there and who was not. Not specific people, just if people left and were missing it in general.
So does this seem like a thinking thing? Like, I wonder how many people have left? Or does this seem like I have wondered about that, and now I am just in a visual thing, I see some gray boxes and some picture boxes?
It's a wonder thing, but there's no words attached to it or anything. It was just recalling fact, like you said. It's just I knew what I was doing in the moment. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just expanding the window and staring at the screen.
So that, to my ear, sounds like sort of two different kinds of things, which I would like us to sort through. So one was, I am wondering, which would be a cognitive experience. I experience myself as wondering in an inchoate kind of way, more or less like the seeing of beep number one was an inchoate kind of seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a thinky kind of a thing. I wonder about that. That's one thing. And another possibility is I did in the past a few seconds ago wonder, and now I'm just expanding the window and seeing what's there, and the wondering is an over with and done deal.
It was the first one because I was expanding the window and I was looking at all the boxes. So obviously I had intention, like I knew what I was doing. Like I said, I have trouble explaining things that are not visual or verbal. So it is a thinky process that I knew what I was doing.
And the knowing what I'm doing is in my direct experience in the same way as my seeing of the first beep was in my direct experience?
Yes.
Okay. And you're right, that's a hard thing to describe. And also I think it's an important thing to describe.
Yeah.
So what we have here is a thought process that is pretty clearly a thought process.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen to be in words and pictures, which makes it hard to describe, but it is nonetheless a thought process. And as at the same time, presumably as a result of this thought process, but at the same time, I'm expanding the window to see what the answer is.
Yeah, I wasn't even listening to what my professor was saying. I was more focused on who was there rather than the content of what he was saying as well.
And I guess I don't really even know whether I need to know the answer to this question, but so is the deal something like I'm thinking, well, this is an important question. I wonder how many people have left before they're going to hear the answer to it. Is that
that's the rationale behind it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I missed it myself. I was sitting there.
That's the irony of the whole deal.
Welcome to my life.
That's great.
So I think I'm good.
Me too. Number 5.
So my professor was talking about something that was on the slide, and I was typing something while he was talking about it, and as soon as I switched back to the video of like the PowerPoint, he jumped to the next slide. So I saw quickly what he was talking about. There are 3 definitions for 3 different things, and I didn't know what they were because I didn't have time to read it. So I scanned in my book in the section that we were on, and I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I was scanning the section, like skimming it to see if like anything would pop up to like jog my memory of what he was talking about. And then the beeper went off when I was scanning the page.
And so is it the scanning? Is it your scanning that is caught in flight?
Yes.
By the beep?
Yeah. I'm not like reading in any specific order. I'm just like, you know how like when you look at a menu, no one really reads it straight down. I was kind of doing that, like jumping around looking for a keyword that would pop up.
Mm-hmm. And is what you're looking for specified at all? Like, do you know? Not even. There's not like a word I'm looking for, or a color, or a header, or something.
No, and I knew I would have remembered if I saw it. I still don't even remember what it was. I haven't gone back and looked at the PowerPoint. But when I was scanning, hoping that one of the words would jog my memory.
Mm-hmm. So I'm scanning, and presumably when I get to something that seems related to this, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
But I'm not scanning for anything in particular.
No, I didn't know what I was looking for. I was waiting for something to jog my memory.
Mm-hmm. And is scanning a visual phenomenon? Like, it's really more about my eyes meeting the page and looking around? Or is this like a thinky thing like in the last beep?
It was more like if you see like it's like I'm looking for like shapes in a group of other shapes. I wasn't like reading the words individually. The words didn't really mean anything to me individually.
Mm-hmm.
But like I knew that if I saw this word, it would have jogged my memory.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so. I'm understanding that to mean like this is really pretty much a visual thing. This is a looking kind of thing. And when I see it, I'll stop.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have some cognition about what I'm looking for or the word or the concept or like, oh shit, why did he change the slide or nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. And is there anything else in your experience? Like I assume the lecture's still ongoing, or is any of that getting in at this moment?
No, not really.
Okay.
Nothing that I remember specifically.
Okay. Then I think I'm good.
I'm good. Number 6.
All right. There's a lot going on here in 6. So we were learning about a disease that causes your skin to turn orange, like it looks like an orange peel. And it made me think about my grandma, who I just visited the other day, who showed me like a lesion on her leg. And it looked like something called actinic keratosis. And when the beeper went off, I was daydreaming about sending a picture to my friend who's like she's not a dermatologist, but she's in PA school as well, who's really good at dermatology, to see if she agreed. And during the beep, I was saying, do you think this is AK, as an actinic keratosis, with a visual of me in first person looking at the lesion on my grandma's leg. It was like a memory visual because it was the exact same, like, it looked exactly the same as when I saw it with my own eyes live the other day. So just to like recap, because that wasn't organized. I was saying, do you think it's AK, while I had a visual of me actually looking at it in first person view. Yeah.
So let's start with the same part. What exactly do you see?
I see me looking down. No, I don't see me. Me looking down at my grandma's leg that I was looking at the other day in the exact distance, and it's like a memory of looking at the leg, and it was very vivid.
So this is not really an image of me. This is an image of my grandmother's leg.
Yeah, it's a memory of what I was looking at the other day.
And am I subject matter in any way of this image? Obviously, it was me who was seeing it, but as far as I'm concerned, am I seeing my grandmother's leg again? Is it my experience aimed at her leg?
Yeah, I'm like looking at her leg like I looked at it the other day.
Okay. So this is not about Ryan. It's about grandma.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay. And I see it, as far as I can tell, exactly the same way as I saw it before.
Yeah.
Is that right? And I'm not asking whether this is really true. You know, nobody has any recollection. There's no standard that you can compare it to, probably. But as far as your experience is concerned, it seems like I'm seeing exactly the same thing as I saw before.
Yeah.
From the same angle, same
angle, same color, same, like, I could tell that half of it was gray, the other half was like slightly blackish, skin tony color.
Okay. And I forget what I was going to ask. Oh, you said it was very vivid. Did you mean by very vivid as the same degree of vividness as when you saw it the first time around?
No. It was no. That would be crazy.
No, it wouldn't be crazy, because sometimes people. I wonder whether you saw it more vividly.
Yeah.
It was so like I could tell that it was exactly what I was seeing. Like I saw the shape of the leg and everything, but like, yeah, I don't know how to answer that question because it's like it's not actually in front of me, so like I can't say that it was more or less. I could say it's less visible.
So maybe I asked the question not quite right. So let me try to ask the question better. So does this visual experience seem like I'm looking at my grandmother's leg, and it's the same way as I looked at my grandmother's leg before, and I see it the same way as I saw it before, even though I know I'm not really there and I know that this is in my imagination, and yet my experiences of having sort of being transported, I guess, I'm looking at it the same way, and I see it the same way, and I'm not claiming that it's more vivid, less vivid, equally vivid, or whatever, but it seems like it's the same kind of a scene.
I could not have described it any better than what you just did.
Okay. And that, by the way, is part of the bracketing and presuppositions thing. Obviously, this seeing is not the same as it was before, but what I want us to set that aside in favor of the experience. The experience apparently is pretty much exactly like it was before, or at least that's the way it seems. That's the way we experience it. Whether or not, in fact, it was, it's a different story that I would like us to bracket.
Yeah, it almost felt like I was there in the moment.
So that would mean that this experience does include something of Ryan. This is not just I'm remembering what I saw. This is I'm remembering that I was there seeing it, including what I saw.
Oh, I thought you meant like it was like about me looking at it instead of actually just like seeing it. But yeah, it was more like I was reliving the moment than it was just a picture. So I don't know if that clarifies what I said previously. It changes things.
Well, these things are hard to get straight, and this is by no means a criticism of Ryan.
I'm ready.
These are totally. So this is not just I have a mental picture of my grandmother's leg.
Mm-hmm.
This is I am as if transported back to that situation where I see my grandmother's leg clearly, and I don't see myself at all, but I'm obviously back there in the experiential mode of seeing the leg.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
That's why I said like it was like a memory. It was so vivid that like it was exactly what I was looking at when I was there.
Okay. And at the same time as that, I am thinking about saying, do you think this is AK or do you think it's AK or something like that?
It's almost like what I was seeing was going to be a message sent to someone, and the words attached to that message were going to be, do you think this is AK?
Okay. And did you take a pic of this while you were there?
No.
So you're asking this about your image as if you could transmit this image to your friend? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So to remember what it looked like, I put myself back in that situation of where I was to remember what the leg looked like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it make sense to ask which is more prominent, the saying of this to your friend or the seeing of the?
It was equal.
Okay.
Yeah, they both were strong. They were both very prominent.
And is your friend experientially present? This is one of those deals where obviously we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, no.
But I don't see her or feel her presence in some way or whatever, even though I know these words are aimed at her.
Yeah, I just knew they were aimed at her.
Okay.
I stump you a little bit.
No, I'm just reviewing whether I have any more questions, which I don't think I do.
It was kind of similar to the one with the parking lot, where like I was really like present in that daydream, if that makes sense. Like it was a lot going on and I was experiencing a lot. And it was similar to that.
Okay. All right. I think that's good. And we're quicker than we have been. Well, we had one fewer beat because of the overlap. But
yeah.
Anything else we should be talking about today?
I don't think so. I'm just exhausted. So like I feel like I could have definitely done a better job explaining things, but I got like 3 hours of sleep and I've been studying all day.
Well, you fooled me.
You did a great job.
I thought you did a good job. So
I appreciate it.
So you all are going to figure out when we're going to do this again, and
Sure.
and we'll put that on the schedule.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's going to have to be next week sometime, obviously, but
Sounds good.
next Wednesday, loosely, if
Okay.
you guys could do it.
Sounds
I'll
like
reach back out in a couple days and we can figure out a time or whatever.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
all right.
All
Thanks.
right.
Buddy. Good to see you again.
See you later.
Yeah, you too.